The city skyline glittered like a constellation of ambition, but for Clara Thompson, the night was her domain. At 2 a.m., the towering glass fortress of Apex Innovations, a tech giant renowned for its cutting-edge AI and sleek gadgets, stood silent except for the soft hum of Clara's floor buffer. Dressed in faded navy overalls, her dark hair tied back in a messy bun, Clara moved through the empty offices like a ghost, her presence unnoticed by the world that thrived here during daylight hours. Clara, 32, had worked as a night janitor for 3 years, her life a quiet rhythm of mops, brooms, and solitude. The office was her canvas, though not in the way she dreamed. Tucked in her cleaning cart was a small, tattered sketchbook, filled with intricate pencil drawings of fantastical landscapes and vibrant portraits, her secret escape. Each stroke was a rebellion against her circumstances, a whisper of the artist she longed to be. As she polished a glass conference table, Clara paused, catching her reflection. Tired brown eyes stared back, framed by faint lines of exhaustion. She sighed, thinking of her late grandmother, Elise, whose own paintings had once hung in local galleries. "You're destined for more, Clara," Elise used to say, her voice warm with conviction. Clara clung to those words, but they felt distant now, buried under the weight of her reality. She moved to the executive suite, where glossy desks held remnants of the day, half-eaten gourmet sandwiches, empty coffee cups with lipstick stains, and discarded prototypes of sleek devices. Clara's fingers lingered on a discarded smartwatch, its screen flashing with notifications. She imagined its owner, some high-flying executive, never noticing its absence. To her, it was a month's rent. "Another day, another dollar," she muttered, slipping the watch into a lost-and-found bin. She pulled out her sketchbook, flipping to a half-finished drawing of a phoenix rising from embers. Her pencil danced across the page, each line a momentary escape from the monotony. The clock ticked toward 6 a.m., when her shift would end, and the day staff would arrive, shattering her quiet world. The first rays of dawn crept through the lobby's floor-to-ceiling windows as Clara prepared to leave. Her cleaning cart was neatly packed, her sketchbook safely tucked away. But the peace was short-lived. The elevator dinged, and out strutted Bianca Reynolds, the 28-year-old marketing executive who ruled Apex's social scene like a queen bee. Her designer heels clicked sharply, her platinum blonde hair catching the light. Flanking her were Chloe and Danielle, her assistants, their laughter a sharp, practiced chorus. "Morning, Clara," Bianca drawled, her voice dripping with condescension. She tossed her purse onto a nearby table, spilling a few pens that rolled onto the floor. "Oops. You'll get that, right?" Clara's jaw tightened, but she nodded, crouching to pick up the pens. "Of course, Ms. Reynolds." Chloe, a petite brunette with a perpetually smug grin, leaned toward Danielle. "Does she ever not look like she just rolled out of a dumpster?" she whispered, loud enough for Clara to hear. Danielle, a redhead with a sharp nose, snickered, adjusting her oversized sunglasses. Bianca smirked, flipping through her phone. "Honestly, Clara, you're like the office Roomba. Always scurrying around, cleaning up our messes. Must be thrilling." Clara's cheeks burned, but she kept her eyes down, focusing on the pens. "Just doing my job," she said softly, her voice barely audible. "Oh, don't be so humble," Bianca said, her tone mocking. "You're practically part of the furniture." "Right, girls." Chloe and Danielle burst into giggles, their voices echoing in the vast lobby. Clara pushed her cart toward the service exit, her heart heavy. She'd learned to endure their taunts, but each one chipped away at her. As she stepped into the cool morning air, she whispered to herself, "Just one more day." But she wasn't sure how many more she could take. The next morning, Clara was in the lobby, her floor buffer humming as she restored the marble to a mirror-like shine. The clock read 6:15 a.m., and the day shift was trickling in. She was nearly done, ready to slip away unnoticed, when Bianca's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Hold on, conference call with Tokyo," Bianca said into her phone, striding across the lobby with a large mango smoothie in her free hand. Her eyes flicked toward Clara, a glint of mischief in them. As she passed, her arm jerked, and the smoothie cup tilted, spilling a vibrant orange mess across the pristine floor. Clara froze, the buffer's hum fading as the sticky liquid spread. Bianca stopped, her phone still pressed to her ear. "Oh, Clara, what a mess," she said, her voice feigning surprise. "You'll handle it, won't you? You're so good at that." Chloe and Danielle, trailing behind, stifled laughter. Wow, Bianca, you really know how to make an entrance, Chloe said, nudging Danielle. Poor Clara, always cleaning up after us. Clara's hands clenched the buffer's handle. She wanted to snap back, to tell them to clean it themselves, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she grabbed a mop from her cart, her movements mechanical. I've got it, she said, her voice flat. Bianca raised an eyebrow, her lips curling. That's the spirit. Keep the place sparkling, Clara. She turned back to her call, her heels clicking as she walked away, leaving Clara to kneel in the sticky puddle. As Clara mopped, she overheard Chloe whisper, "She's so pathetic. Bet she cries herself to sleep every night." Danielle giggled. Probably. Who lives like that? Clara's eyes stung, but she blinked back the tears. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. The smoothie's sickly sweet smell clung to her hands, a reminder of her place in their world. The following evening, Clara was back in the quiet of the night shift, her cart rattling softly as she moved through the marketing department. She paused at Bianca's desk, where a stack of glossy campaign posters sat, showcasing Apex's latest smart device. Clara's fingers traced the edge of one, her mind drifting to her own designs, locked away in her sketchbook. She reached for her cart, her heart stopping as her hand came up empty. Her sketchbook, her lifeline, her dreams, was gone. Panic surged through her. She tore through the cart, checking every pocket, every corner. Nothing. Her breath quickened as she retraced her steps, searching under desks and in trash cans. As she neared the break room, she heard voices. Chloe and Danielle were lounging on a couch, sipping coffee. "Did you see that lame doodle book I found on the cart?" Chloe said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Looked like something a kid would scribble in." Danielle laughed. "What'd you do with it?" "Tossed it in the recycling," Chloe said, shrugging. "Figured it was trash, like her." Clara's heart plummeted. She sprinted to the recycling bin in the loading dock, her sneakers pounding against the concrete. The bin was overflowing, but she dug through it, paper and plastic sticking to her hands. Her fingers brushed against something familiar, but it was just a crumpled flyer. The bin had been emptied that afternoon. She sank to her knees, a sob escaping her lips. That sketchbook held months of work, portraits of her grandmother, fantastical cities, dreams she'd poured her soul into. It was her proof that she was more than a janitor. Now it was gone. "Stupid," she whispered, wiping her eyes. "Why didn't I keep it closer?" The weight of loss settled over her, heavier than any mess she'd ever cleaned. The bullying escalated, becoming a cruel game. Clara noticed Bianca lingering near her during shift changes, her phone angled just so. At first, Clara thought nothing of it, but then she overheard Chloe in the break room, showing her phone to Danielle. "Check this out," Chloe said, giggling. Bianca got her scrubbing that smoothie mess. Caption: Clara, the human mop. Clara's stomach churned as she peeked around the corner. The video played on Chloe's screen, Clara on her knees, mopping the lobby floor, her face etched with quiet resignation. The comments in the private company chat group were worse: pathetic, does she ever smile, and a string of laughing emojis. The next day, Clara caught Bianca filming again as she emptied a trash can overflowing with coffee cups. "Keep going, Clara," Bianca called out, her voice sugary. "You're a natural on camera." Clara's hands shook as she tied the trash bag. "Please stop," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Bianca laughed, lowering her phone. "Oh, come on, Clara. You're famous now. The office loves your little performances." Chloe and Danielle, nearby, erupted in laughter, their phones out, snapping photos. That night, Clara found a new video in the chat group, shared by Bianca. Clara struggling with a heavy trash bag, her overalls smudged with coffee grounds. The caption read, "Another glamorous day for our star janitor. Apex after hours." The likes and comments piled up, each one a dagger to Clara's heart. She sat in the darkened supply closet, her only refuge, scrolling through the group chat on an old phone she used for emergencies. The mockery was relentless. "Why do I stay?" she whispered, tears streaming down her face. She felt like a ghost, haunting a place that despised her, her dreams reduced to pixels of humiliation. The fluorescent lights of Apex Innovations buzzed faintly as Clara moved through the marketing department, her cart's wheels squeaking against the polished floor. It was 3 a.m., the dead of night, and the office was a labyrinth of shadows. Her heart still ached from the loss of her sketchbook, but she clung to routine, hoping it would anchor her against the tide of despair. Tucked in the pocket of her faded overalls was a small, chipped ceramic bird figurine, a gift from her late grandmother, Elise. Its delicate wings, painted a soft blue, were a talisman of hope, a reminder of Elise's words, "Fly high, Clara, no matter how heavy the world feels." As she emptied a trash can near Bianca's desk, Clara's fingers brushed the figurine, grounding her. But the quiet was shattered by the elevator's ding. Bianca, Chloe, and Danielle strutted in, their laughter sharp and out of place in the night stillness. They weren't supposed to be here. Executives rarely stayed past midnight, but Bianca's eyes gleamed with purpose. "Clara, still scrubbing away?" Bianca called, her voice dripping with mockery. She wore a sleek leather jacket, her phone already in hand. "You're like a little worker ant, aren't you?" Clara's stomach twisted, but she kept her head down, tying the trash bag. "Just finishing up, Ms. Reynolds," she said, her voice barely audible. Bianca stepped closer, her heels clicking ominously. "Oh, don't rush off. We're just grabbing some files." She accidentally bumped into Clara, her elbow knocking the figurine from Clara's pocket. It hit the marble floor with a sickening crack, shattering into jagged pieces. Clara gasped, dropping to her knees. The bird's delicate head lay severed, its blue wings fractured. "No," she whispered, her hands trembling as she gathered the shards. Bianca's lips curled into a feigned gasp. "Oops. Butterfingers. Clara. Was that important?" Chloe and Danielle stifled giggles, their phones out, capturing the moment. "It was my grandmother's," Clara said, her voice breaking. She looked up at Bianca, tears brimming. "Why do you do this?" Bianca's smile was cold. "Oh, Clara, don't be dramatic. It's just a cheap trinket." She turned to her assistants. "Right, girls. Let's go." Their laughter echoed as they sauntered back to the elevator, leaving Clara alone with the broken pieces of her past. She sat there, clutching the shards, her tears falling onto the cold floor. The figurine wasn't just a keepsake, it was Elisa's love, her belief in Clara's dreams. Now it was dust, just like her sketchbook, just like her hope. Clara's shift ended at 6 a.m., but she couldn't move. She sat in the supply closet, her sanctuary, surrounded by the sharp scent of bleach and the hum of fluorescent lights. The broken pieces of the ceramic bird lay in a small pile on a rag, each fragment a dagger to her heart. Her hands trembled as she tried to fit them together, but the cracks were too deep, the damage irreparable. She pulled out her old phone, its cracked screen glowing faintly. The company chat group was still buzzing with Bianca's latest video. Clara on her knees, scrambling for the shattered figurine, captioned, "Clara's big drama over a dollar store toy. Apex after hours." The comments were merciless. "She's so extra. Bet she's faking those tears." Each word burned, stripping away the last of her resolve. "Why do I stay?" Clara whispered, her voice raw. She thought of her grandmother's tiny apartment, filled with paintings and laughter, a world where she'd felt seen. Now, she was invisible, a punching bag for people who didn't even know her name beyond their taunts. The closet felt suffocating, its walls closing in like the weight of her humiliation. She stood, wiping her tears, and packed the broken figurine pieces into a small plastic bag. She'd try to glue them later, though she knew it wouldn't be the same. As she pushed her cart toward the service exit, her steps were heavy, each one a question. Could she keep going? Was this all her life would be? Outside, the pre-dawn air was cool, the city stirring awake. Clara stood by the loading dock, her breath visible in the chill. She felt like a ghost, fading into the shadows of a world that didn't want her. She closed her eyes, wishing for a sign, anything to pull her from the abyss. As Clara stepped into the pre-dawn light, her sneakers scuffing against the concrete, a sleek black limousine pulled up silently beside the loading dock. Its tinted windows reflected the faint glow of streetlights, and Clara froze, her heart racing. This wasn't a delivery truck or a maintenance van. This was something else entirely. The back window glided down, revealing a man in his late 50s, his silver hair neatly combed, his piercing blue eyes studying her with an intensity that made her breath catch. He wore a tailored suit, understated yet exuding wealth. "Clara Thompson," he said, his voice calm but authoritative. "Get in." Clara's grip tightened on her cart. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. She glanced around, but the street was empty, the city still half asleep. "Elias Vance," he said simply, as if the name should mean something. When Clara's expression remained blank, he added, "Founder of Apex Innovations. I need to speak with you. Now." Clara's mind reeled. Elias Vance was a legend, a reclusive billionaire who'd built Apex from a garage startup to a tech empire. She'd seen his name on company memos, but he was a myth, rarely seen in the office. Why was he here, talking to her? I don't understand," she stammered, clutching the plastic bag with the broken figurine pieces. "What do you want with me?" Vance's expression softened, just slightly. "I've seen what's been happening, Clara. And I'm here to make it right. Please, get in." Her instincts screamed caution, but something in his voice, steady, almost kind, pulled her forward. She hesitated, then opened the door and slid into the limousine's plush interior, the leather seats cool against her worn overalls. The door closed with a soft thud, and the world outside seemed to vanish. Inside the limousine, the air was thick with the scent of leather and faint cologne. Clara sat stiffly, her hands clutching the plastic bag, as Elias Vance studied her from across the seat. A tablet rested on his lap, its screen dark. The car glided through the city, the hum of the engine barely audible. "I've been watching you, Clara," Vance said, his voice measured. "Not in a way that should alarm you. Apex has a state-of-the-art surveillance system, installed for security. But it's captured more than I expected." Clara's stomach churned. "You've been watching me?" The thought sent a shiver down her spine. "Why?" Vance leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers. "Because I made a promise. To your grandmother, Elise." Clara's breath caught. "You knew my grandmother?" Vance nodded, a flicker of nostalgia softening his stern features. "Elise was my mentor, my friend. When I was a young man, struggling to start Apex, she saw something in me. Her art, her passion, it inspired me. She gave me that same ceramic bird you carried, as a symbol of resilience. And she made me promise to look out for you, her granddaughter, if she couldn't." Clara's eyes widened, tears threatening to spill. "She never told me about you." "She was private," Vance said. "But she loved you fiercely. When I learned you worked at Apex, I kept an eye on you, discreetly. I saw your talent in those sketches you left in the break room once, before you started hiding them. And I saw how they've treated you." Clara's voice trembled. "You saw everything?" Vance's jaw tightened. "Every spill, every taunt, every video. I saw it all, Clara. And I'm not going to let it continue." She looked down at the bag in her hands, the broken bird a painful reminder. "Why now? Why help me now?" "Because," Vance said, his voice firm, "it's time for justice. And it's time for you to rise." Vance tapped the tablet, its screen flaring to life. "Look at this," he said, handing it to Clara. Her hands shook as she took it, the screen displaying a high-resolution video. Bianca spilling the smoothie, her smirk unmistakable, Chloe tossing Clara's sketchbook into the recycling bin, laughing, Danielle filming as the ceramic bird shattered on the floor. Each clip was time-stamped, meticulously catalogued. Clara's throat tightened. "You've been collecting this?" "For weeks," Vance said, his voice cold with resolve. "Every act of cruelty, every moment they tried to break you. I needed evidence, undeniable proof, before I acted. I didn't want to just fire them, I wanted to expose them, to ensure they faced the consequences." Clara scrolled through the dossier, her heart pounding. There were screenshots of the company chat group, the mocking captions, the laughing emojis. One video showed Bianca whispering to Chloe, "She's nothing. Let's see how much more she can take." Clara's tears fell onto the screen, blurring the image. "Why didn't you stop it sooner?" she asked, her voice a mix of anger and pain. Vance's expression darkened. "I wanted to, Clara. But I needed to understand the full scope of their behavior, to ensure they couldn't wiggle out of it. And I needed to know you were ready to stand with me when the time came." "Stand with you?" Clara looked up, confused. "I'm just a janitor." "You're more than that," Vance said, his voice fierce. "You're Elisa's granddaughter, an artist with a fire they can't extinguish. I'm giving you a chance to take back your power. Will you take it? Clara's fingers tightened around the tablet. The weight of her humiliation, her loss, her dreams, all of it surged within her. She thought of her grandmother, of the phoenix in her lost sketchbook. Yes, she said, her voice steady for the first time in months. I'm ready. The limousine glided through the city's awakening streets, its interior a cocoon of quiet intensity. Clara sat across from Elias Vance, the billionaire founder of Apex Innovations, her mind reeling from his revelations. The tablet in her lap still glowed with the digital dossier of her humiliations, Bianca's smoothie spill, Chloe's theft of her sketchbook, Danielle's mocking videos. Her hands trembled, not with fear now, but with a spark of something new, resolve. Vance leaned back, his piercing blue eyes studying her. There's something else you need to know, Clara, he said, his voice steady but weighted with purpose. I'm in the final stages of acquiring Apex Innovations outright. I've been a silent partner for years, but now I'm taking full control. Clara's brow furrowed. Why does that matter to me? Her voice was soft, but there was an edge to it, a flicker of defiance born from weeks of pain. Vance's lips twitched into a faint smile. Because my reasons have changed. Initially, it was about business, expanding Apex's reach, streamlining operations. But when I saw what was happening to you, it became personal. Your grandmother, Elise, taught me that a company's soul lies in its people, not its profits. Apex has lost that soul, and I'm here to reclaim it, for you, and for everyone they've stepped on. Clara's breath caught. The idea that a billionaire would care about her, a janitor, felt surreal. You're doing this, because of me? Partially, Vance admitted. Elise made me promise to protect you, but it's more than that. You represent every person in this company who's been overlooked, undervalued. Bianca and her clique, they're symptoms of a rotten culture. I'm going to rip it out, root and stem, and you're going to help me. Clara's heart pounded. Help you? Oh. I'm nobody here. Vance's gaze was unwavering. You're wrong. You're the heart of this fight. You've endured their cruelty with a strength most people couldn't muster. On Monday, I'm walking into Apex as its new owner. And you'll be there, not as a janitor, but as someone they'll never forget. Are you in? Clara clutched the plastic bag with the broken ceramic bird, her grandmother's voice echoing in her mind. Fly high, Clara. She met Vance's eyes, her fear giving way to determination. I'm in. The weekend passed in a blur, Clara's small apartment a whirlwind of emotion and preparation. She stood before her cracked mirror, holding up a thrift store dress she'd spent hours altering. Its deep green fabric hugged her frame, simple yet elegant, a far cry from her faded overalls. She'd sewn every stitch with care, each one a declaration that she was more than the office Roomba Bianca had mocked. As she worked, Clara replayed Vance's words, the images from his dossier burning in her mind. Bianca's smirk, Chloe's laughter, Danielle's phone capturing her every humiliation. The pain was still raw, but beneath it, a fire kindled, a slow, steady burn of vengeance. Not the petty kind, but a righteous demand for justice. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every invisible worker who'd ever been stepped on. On Sunday night, Vance's assistant delivered a small, ornate wooden box to her apartment. Inside was a note. For Monday. Wear it with pride. E.V. Clara lifted the lid to find a delicate silver necklace, its pendant a tiny phoenix, its wings glinting with tiny emeralds. Her breath hitched. It was a nod to her lost sketchbook, to her grandmother's belief in her. She clasped it around her neck, feeling its weight like a promise. Tomorrow, she whispered, staring at her reflection. Tomorrow, they'll see me. She barely slept, her mind racing with what was to come. When Monday dawned, Clara stood at the bus stop, the green dress catching the early light. The plastic bag with the broken bird was tucked in her purse, a reminder of what she'd lost, and what she was about to reclaim. As the bus rumbled toward Apex, her heart pounded, not with fear, but with purpose. She was no longer the invisible shadow. She was Clara Thompson, and she was ready. The Apex Innovations lobby gleamed under the morning sun, its marble floors reflecting the bustle of arriving employees. Clara stepped through the glass doors, her heart thumping like a war drum. Gone were her overalls, the green dress flowed with quiet elegance, the phoenix pendant glinting at her throat. She carried the ornate wooden box from Vance, its weight a steadying force. Heads turned as she walked, whispers trailing her. Who is she? Is she new? Bianca, Chloe, and Danielle were at their usual spot near the reception desk, sipping lattes and scrolling through their phones. Bianca's eyes flicked up, narrowing as she saw Clara. Well, look who's playing dress-up, she said, her voice loud enough to draw attention. What's this, Clara? Did you borrow that from a costume shop? Chloe snickered, nudging Danielle. Bet she's still got mop water on her shoes. Clara's cheeks flushed, but she held her ground, her fingers tightening around the box. Before she could respond, the lobby doors swung open, and Elias Vance strode in. His tailored suit exuded authority, his silver hair catching the light. The room fell silent, every eye on him. Bianca's smirk faltered, her latte forgotten. Mr. Vance, Bianca said, recovering quickly, her voice syrupy. What a surprise! We weren't expecting. Enough, Vance cut her off, his voice like steel. He turned to Clara, his expression softening. Miss Thompson, would you join me? Clara nodded, stepping to his side, her chin high. The weight of every gaze in the lobby felt like a spotlight, but for the first time, it didn't burn. Bianca's eyes widened, her confusion palpable. Miss Thompson, she muttered, glancing at Chloe and Danielle, who looked equally stunned. Vance faced the growing crowd of employees, his presence commanding. Today marks a new chapter for Apex Innovations, he said, his voice resonating. And it starts with setting things right. Clara's heart raced. This was it, the moment she'd been waiting for. The lobby buzzed with tension as Elias Vance raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. A massive screen behind the reception desk flickered to life, connected to a projector Vance's assistant had set up. Clara stood beside him, the ornate box in her hands, her pulse pounding. Bianca, Chloe, and Danielle shifted uncomfortably, their usual confidence replaced by unease. Ladies and gentlemen, Vance began, his voice steady but laced with steel, I am now the sole owner and CEO of Apex Innovations. My vision is to build a company where every employee is valued, from the boardroom to the break room. But first, we must address a poison that's been allowed to fester. He nodded to his assistant, and the screen lit up with the first video from the dossier. Bianca's face appeared, smirking as she spilled the mango smoothie across the lobby floor, her voice clear. You'll handle it, won't you, Clara? The crowd gasped, heads turning to Bianca, who paled. The videos continued, Chloe tossing Clara's sketchbook into the recycling bin, laughing, Danielle filming as the ceramic bird shattered, Bianca's mock apology ringing out. The company chat group flashed on the screen, its cruel captions and emojis exposed for all to see. Clara, the human mop. Another glamorous day for our star janitor. Apex After Hours. The lobby was silent, the air thick with shock. Employees whispered, some covering their mouths, others glaring at Bianca's clique. Bianca's face was ashen, her hands clenched. This is, taken out of context, she stammered, but her voice lacked conviction. Vance's eyes were cold. Out of context. These are your actions, Ms. Reynolds, captured in high definition. You, Ms. Carter, Ms. Evans, you've turned this workplace into a stage for cruelty. And it ends now. Clara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. I was invisible to you, she said, her eyes locked on Bianca. But I'm not invisible anymore. She opened the box, revealing the broken pieces of the ceramic bird, holding them up for all to see. This was my grandmother's. You broke it, just like you tried to break me. But you failed. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some nodding in support, others glaring at Bianca. Clara felt a surge of strength, her voice carrying. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone you've hurt. The silence in the lobby was deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the projector. Bianca, Chloe, and Danielle stood frozen, their faces a mix of panic and defiance. The crowd's eyes bore into them, a collective judgment that stripped away their bravado. Vance stepped forward, his voice like a gavel. Ms. Reynolds, Ms. Carter, Ms. Evans, you are terminated, effective immediately, for gross misconduct and creating a toxic workplace environment. Security will escort you out. Bianca's jaw dropped. You can't do this, she sputtered, her voice shrill. I'm the best marketing exec you have. This is absurd. Chloe clutched Danielle's arm, her eyes wide. "It was just a joke. We didn't mean." "Jokes don't shatter keepsakes," Vance cut in, his tone icy. "They don't steal someone's work or mock their pain. You've abused your positions, and you've lost them." Two security guards stepped forward, their expressions neutral but firm. Bianca's face twisted with rage. "You'll regret this, Vance. And you," she spat, turning to Clara, "you think you're somebody now? You're still just a janitor in a cheap dress." Clara met her gaze, unflinching. "Maybe. But I'm standing here, and you're leaving." Her words were quiet, but they carried a weight that silenced Bianca. The guards ushered the trio toward the exit, Bianca's heels clicking defiantly, Chloe and Danielle trailing with bowed heads. The glass doors closed behind them, and a ripple of applause broke out among the employees, tentative at first, then growing louder. Clara's cheeks flushed, but she stood tall, the phoenix pendant glinting at her throat. Vance turned to the crowd. "This is the beginning," he said. "Apex will be a place of respect, where every voice matters. Starting today, we rebuild." Clara felt the weight of the box in her hands, the broken bird a symbol of her past, and her strength. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen, and she was ready to soar. The Apex Innovations lobby, once a cold stage for Clara's humiliations, buzzed with a new energy. The crowd of employees, still reeling from the public unveiling of Bianca's cruelty, turned their attention to Elias Vance, who stood at the center of the room, his presence commanding. Clara stood beside him, the ornate box with the broken ceramic bird in her hands, the phoenix pendant at her throat catching the light. The applause from moments ago lingered in the air, a tentative promise of change. Vance raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. "What you've seen today," he began, his voice resonant, "is not just the end of a toxic chapter, but the beginning of a new one. Apex Innovations was built on creativity and collaboration, but somewhere along the way, it lost its way. We've allowed a culture of arrogance to fester, where people like Clara, dedicated, talented, essential, were made to feel invisible. That ends now." The crowd nodded, some exchanging glances, others standing straighter, as if waking from a long sleep. Clara's heart pounded, but it wasn't fear, it was the weight of being seen, truly seen, for the first time. Vance turned to her, his blue eyes warm with conviction. "Clara Thompson embodies the resilience and heart this company needs. She's not just a janitor, she's an artist, a dreamer, and a survivor. Her story is a reminder that every role matters, from the boardroom to the break room." He faced the employees again. "Starting today, Apex will operate under new policies. Anonymous reporting systems to ensure no one fears speaking out. Mandatory training on respect and inclusivity. And a zero-tolerance stance on bullying. We're not just building technology here, we're building a community." A young engineer in the crowd, his glasses fogging slightly, raised a hand. "Mr. Vance, how do we make sure this sticks? People like Bianca, they set the tone for years." Vance's jaw tightened. "By holding ourselves accountable. By valuing every voice. And by recognizing talent like Clara's, which has been overlooked for too long." He paused, letting the words sink in. "This is our new apex. Who's with me?" The room erupted in cheers, louder and more unified than before. Clara's cheeks flushed, but she stood tall, the broken bird in her hands a symbol of what she'd endured, and what she'd overcome. For the first time, she felt like she belonged. The next morning, Clara returned to Apex, not through the service entrance, but through the main glass doors. The green dress was gone, replaced by a tailored blazer and slacks she'd pieced together from her thrift store finds, her phoenix pendant still gleaming. Employees nodded as she passed, some offering shy smiles, others whispering her name with a mix of awe and curiosity. The lobby felt different, warmer, alive with possibility. Vance called an all-staff meeting in the conference room, its glass walls reflecting the morning light. Clara stood at the back, nervous but resolute, as Vance took the podium. "We're launching a new department today," he announced, his voice carrying. "Creative Innovations, dedicated to fostering internal talent and developing ideas that push Apex forward. And leading it will be someone who knows the value of perseverance and creativity." He turned to Clara, gesturing for her to join him. The room buzzed as she stepped forward, her heart racing. "Clara Thompson," Vance said, "is your new Director of Creative Innovations." Her artistic vision and strength make her the perfect choice to guide this team. Gasps rippled through the room. Clara's knees trembled, but she gripped the podium, her voice steady. "I've spent years cleaning these floors," she began, "and I've seen the heart of this company. The late nights, the small moments of kindness, the ideas scribbled on napkins. I know what it's like to feel invisible, but I also know what it's like to dream. This department will be a place for those dreams, for every one of you who has something to say." A woman in the front row, a data analyst named Priya, raised her hand. "What kind of projects will Creative Innovations take on?" she asked, her tone curious but hopeful. Clara smiled, a spark igniting. "Anything that inspires, art for our spaces, designs for new products, campaigns that tell real stories. We'll start small, but we'll grow. And we'll do it together." The room erupted in applause, louder than she'd expected. Vance leaned toward her, whispering, "You're a natural." Clara's chest swelled with pride. For the first time, she saw a path forward, not as a janitor, but as a leader, her grandmother's legacy alive in her. Clara's first day as Director of Creative Innovations was a whirlwind. Her office, a small but bright space with a view of the city, felt surreal after years in the supply closet. On her desk sat the broken ceramic bird, its pieces carefully arranged, a reminder of her journey. She'd spent the weekend drafting her first project, the Clara Initiative, a program to ensure no one at Apex ever felt invisible again. At her first department meeting, Clara faced her new team, a mix of designers, coders, and junior staff eager to prove themselves. "The Clara Initiative," she began, her voice steady, "is about more than creativity. It's about building a workplace where everyone feels safe and valued. We'll have anonymous reporting for workplace issues, mentorship for overlooked talent, and wellness programs to support mental health. I know what it's like to feel unseen, and I won't let that happen to anyone else." A young designer, Javier, raised his hand. "How do we make sure the higher-ups take it seriously? No offense, but corporate programs often fizzle out." Clara nodded, appreciating his candor. "We start with action. I'm working with Mr. Vance to tie promotions and bonuses to participation in these programs. And we'll share success stories, real people, real change. Like you, Javier, who's been sketching app interfaces in your spare time. We're going to showcase that." Javier blushed, and the team murmured excitedly. Clara felt a surge of purpose. She wasn't just leading a department, she was reshaping Apex's soul, just as Vance had promised. That afternoon, she met with Priya, who'd volunteered to help design the initiative's logo. "I was in that lobby when you spoke," Priya said, her eyes bright. "I've been ignored in meetings, talked over. You standing up to Bianca, it gave me hope." Clara's throat tightened. "Thank you, Priya. That's why we're doing this. For all of us." As they sketched ideas, Clara felt her grandmother's spirit in the room, guiding her forward. Weeks passed, and Clara settled into her role with a quiet dignity that transformed Apex's atmosphere. The Creative Innovations Department buzzed with energy, its walls lined with sketches and prototypes from employees who'd never had a voice before. Clara's leadership was empathetic but firm, shaped by her years of enduring cruelty. She listened to her team, championed their ideas, and ensured no one felt overlooked. One of her first projects was a mural for the lobby, a vibrant depiction of unity and creativity. She commissioned a local artist, Maria, whose bold style mirrored Elisa's. As Maria painted, Clara watched, her heart swelling. The mural showed a phoenix soaring over a cityscape, its colors vivid against the once sterile marble. Employees stopped to admire it, some snapping photos, others leaving notes of appreciation. At a team meeting, Javier presented a prototype for a community-driven app, inspired by Clara's initiative. "It's a platform for employees to share ideas anonymously," he explained. "Like Clara said, no one should feel invisible." Clara beamed. "This is exactly what we're about. Let's pitch it to Vance next week." The team cheered, their enthusiasm infectious. That evening, Clara sat at her desk, the broken ceramic bird now glued together, its cracks a testament to her resilience. She traced its wings, thinking of Elise. "I'm doing it, Grandma," she whispered. "I'm flying." An email pinged, Vance, inviting her to an art gallery opening to showcase her own sketches, recovered from a backup she'd forgotten about. Clara's heart raced. Her art, once confined to scraps of paper, would be seen by the world. She was no longer the invisible shadow. She was Clara Thompson, artist, leader, survivor. 6 months later, Apex Innovations was unrecognizable. The lobby's mural had become a symbol of the company's new era, its phoenix a beacon of hope. The Clara Initiative had taken root, with mentorship programs thriving and anonymous reports leading to swift action against toxic behavior. Employees smiled more, collaborated freely, and shared ideas without fear. Clara walked through the office, her blazer now a familiar Hawkins, her sketchbook in hand. A junior coder, Sarah, stopped her. "Ms. Thompson, your initiative, it's changed my life. I got a mentor because of you." Clara smiled, her heart full. "You're the one making it happen, Sarah. Keep pushing." At a company-wide event, Vance toasted to Clara. "To Clara Thompson," he said, raising a glass. "She reminded us what Apex could be." The crowd cheered, and Clara, now a respected leader and recognized artist, felt a peace she'd never known. Her sketches hung in galleries, her name synonymous with resilience. On her desk, the pieced-together ceramic bird stood proud, its cracks glowing in the light, a symbol of her journey, her strength, and the dreams she'd reclaimed. As she addressed the crowd, her voice clear and confident, she said, "We're not just a company, we're a family. Let's keep building, together." The applause was thunderous, and Clara knew she'd found her place, her wings unfurled at last. The end.